From Krypton Radio and the creators of the Hangin with Web show, it's the legend of the Traveling Tardis. Look inside and behind the scenes to one of the most enduring and beloved sci-fi worlds. Step inside the door to a world that's bigger, brighter, and beyond imagination. As you become a part of the legend of the Traveling Tardis. And now, your host, Christian Basel.
Welcome again, fellow Whovians. My name is Christian Basel, the host of the Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show, and skunked again. Wouldn't you know, I left the brakes on the TARDIS while I was trying to land the damn thing. I want to welcome folks back. If you're listening to us on iHeart, iTunes, Krypton Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, whatever you're listening to us out in the Hooniverse, I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us once again. And for those of you who are just joining us brand new, thanks for joining us there. We have a very important topic that I wanted to explore with you today, because it means a lot to me about this particular topic, and especially I know it means a lot to my friends who are going to be joining me for this topic. But again, I don't like doing this alone, so I'm going to introduce the cast today. First of all, fresh from Galley 1, for those of you not familiar with the location, it's Gallifrey 1, one of the biggest and I think largest Doctor Who gatherings of Whovians, which I have yet to go to one day. I would like to welcome author Mackenzie Flohr. How you doing, Mackenzie? How was it out there?
Oh, it was awesome. It was great to see the fam.
The fam? The whole fam. The whole damn fam Whovian. I made that up. Anyway. Bring you next time. What's that?
I said, I'd love to bring you next time.
I fit in any suitcase that's large enough for me. Yep. Just got to poke some holes in there. Oh my goodness! What you people are not seeing is that we are actually trying to do the first time of doing this on a webcast. We're actually doing it with cameras, so I can actually see everybody. But because my camera is borked, I'm not putting my camera on because it crashed my system there. Also, I want to introduce my good friend Brian Burress, but you all know him on YouTube as Dr. Freedom. How's it going there, Doctor?
Oh, pretty good. How's everybody doing out there tonight?
I'm doing quite well. Yep, another episode, another kick-butt episode, and this one is a very special one. And I want also to introduce from Diversely Geek, Miss Neisha Mulchan. How you doing, Neisha?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here.
You don't see this on camera. She looks drunk. It looks like you've had a long day at something out there. And, of course, nonetheless... What?
Thanks, Christian.
Yeah, it's just a little better at work over here with just a little of my friend Jack Daniels there. Just a little ounce there. And I want to welcome back also my good friend Simon Fisher-Becker. You know him as Dorium Maldovar from Matt Smith's series, My Favorite Blue Guy. How you doing there, Simon?
Oh, chickadee-boo, as they would say across the pond here. It's a bit late at night here for me, but it doesn't matter. And now we're doing it as a video screens and seeing all your cheery faces. It's quite spectacular.
Yeah, there's a reason why my camera is off. We're just staying off at this moment.
Yes, I swear I've had some LSD.
That's awesome. I'm sorry.
You and Neisha should get together and just, have one of those nights at the clinic. Anyway, speaking of LSD, which has no transition to whatever I'm trying to get over here, we always start off with the Who Knew News with Sage Ia. Sage, please get us back to reality here. Hello, LSD.
No, I don't have any LSD, but I have toys. I do have toys. Titan Merchandise. They have launched new Doctor Who figures. So starting this May, they expanded their line of Doctor Who. They have a 3-inch Titan twin pack. And it has the 13th Doctor, along with her sonic screwdriver accessory, of course, and a 3-inch figure of the TARDIS. Isn't that pretty cool?
Yeah, I think so. Is anybody interested in getting that particular product out there?
Well,
everybody's shaking their heads.
I was going to say, everybody jump all at once, right?
Oh, I get those. Okay, there you go.
That's the other thing with the new Doctor and new merchandise is, and especially with, I got to get on Nick Briggs's back with Big Finish. I'm just like, if I had to buy everything that came out Doctor Who wise, I would go broke. I would have no house. I would be living in a tent, but that tent would be full of Doctor Who merchandise. That's for sure.
Okay. Also, for anybody who has been following David Tennant's podcast, his latest episode was with Gandalf himself, Sir Ian McKellen. And they were talking about all the roles that shaped his career, about being gay when it was still illegal, and what it was like when he came out in his late 40s. So that's on his new podcast, and of course you can catch that anywhere that you can catch The Legend of the Traveling Tardis.
There you go.
Absolutely.
And what else do we have in the new stage?
This one is a lot of fun. The Strictly Come Dancing for 2019 season.
Yeah.
It's been rumored, well, at least Alex Kingston, obviously who does River Song, she's expressed very enthusiastic interest in donning some sequins and being on Strictly Come Dancing. So we will have to wait and see if that happens.
Do you guys think she can pull it off? You think she can put a dance number out there? Has anybody even seen her dance?
I haven't.
A lot of shaking no's.
Yes.
Nope. I guess it's River Song. She can do anything out there. Going back a little bit, has anybody even heard? I just haven't had time. Has anybody heard David Tennant's podcast? And what do you guys think of it? Which episode did you hear?
I did. Which episode did I?
Who was on it?
Olivia Colman.
Olivia Colman, yeah.
Yes, and what was the second one? I can't remember. I tend to listen to them when I'm in the car, and of course then in the car I'm distracted. But the main thing I remember about Olivia Colman was she used the C word.
Oh.
Yes, and not once.
Commission?
Almost every second sentence. But I had to say, David Tennant is an excellent interviewer. He actually listens to whoever he's talking to, and so they end up having a proper conversation rather than having to answer a series of questions. It was very good. And when I remember who the second one was, I'll let you know.
I think it was Whoopi Goldberg was the second one.
Oh, yeah.
It was okay.
It was. Yes. How can I forget Whoopi Goldberg? I'm a huge fan of her, and I loved the revelation that she tried to pitch to be the first female Doctor Who. She would have been brilliant, in my opinion. But you never know. That might come across now. She's sown that seed now. It'd be lovely to see her in an episode. And, of course, she has to meet Dorium. So that would be two wishes in one. Yes, it was Whoopi Goldberg, who was fascinating as well as hysterical.
So we learned something new every day. I get the feeling that if you actually got Olivia Colman a shot of Jack Daniels, she would probably tell you a lot of things about what's going on out there a little bit more openly than she appears out there. And then
she's quite open anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but there we go. Carry on.
Definitely got to hear an interview. And you mentioned David Tennant's podcast. It reminds me of our flagship show, the Hanging With Web show, which is not really an interview show. It's really the hanging with somebody. And so it's like a casual conversation, right? That's
right. They drop every day, 2 o'clock, Monday through Friday.
Got it. And what else is in the news stage?
The last one is a lot of fun. Doctor Who fans will soon be able to step inside a virtual reality version of the TARDIS. There's going to be a short VR film called Doctor Who, The Runaway, and it's coming soon from the BBC. Jodie Whittaker is reprising her role, obviously, as the 13th Doctor in animated form. It'll be about 12 minutes, and it'll be on selected VR headsets coming up throughout 2019, and you get to be the Doctor's companion and help her on the VR adventure.
Good. I want to be Graham.
So you get to be your own. You get to be your own avatar. It's your own VR adventure. Right. So that's pretty cool.
None of us none of us are cool enough to be Graham. No,
I want to walk around and just say those little sarcastic things every time she does something, and it's just half witty. And it's like, really? Are you going to do that? And that's all for the news, isn't it?
That is all for my news, so take it away.
Okay. Well, we're going to go into a bit of a deep topic, and I just want to bring this up. Something that's been concerning me for quite some time since I think even before Jodie even ascended to the role, it's 10 years ago, if you told me about what was going on with the Hooniverse, if there was bullying in our fandom, I would have never believed you whatsoever. And I was just like, I'm hanging out with friends. I go to meetings with people. I go to conventions, and all my friends out there, I think Whovian doesn't not just have a moniker of just being a fan. I think it also deeply involves people believing in what the Doctor is and what this show brings to people. That there is a certain way of things that we, there's a moral compass that the Doctor has that I think people tend to follow when it comes to the Doctor, and I think they incorporate that in their lives. Am I completely wrong with that? It's not just being somebody who watches TV or listens to a Big Finish album. You actually kind of live that life in respects when you make decisions in your life, when you choose to do something. If anybody wants to make a take on that, please let me know there.
Well, I actually just did a show recently on exactly that concept, Christian. That as a lifelong Whovian, or a Whovian who really loves the show and is very committed to it, there is a very strong moral and an ethical principle that you choose probably to connect to, because the Doctor doesn't always get it right, doesn't always get it wrong, but you have to learn how to make your choices. Right. And based on that, and that's what I connect to a lot about this show, is that it gives me an opportunity to really look at who I am and to make decisions based on what choices would I make in those situations that the Doctor's dealing with. So, I think that you're right about that point. Very well. Here's the reason why I bring it up, and I put normally I put the poll the Traveling Tardis poll question at the end of the show after we've had our discussion and to relate to what people think about this. But I'm going to bring the poll in first. Which is a little different. Then I'm going to have everybody's take as soon as we get back from the commercial. This is actually the highest poll that we've ever taken, meaning the quantity of responses. Normally on our polls, we usually get between 200 and 500 people. This one has set a record of 856 people responding. And the question came up, do you think there's bullying within the Doctor Who fan base? Mackenzie, what do you think is the ratio of yes and no? How many people think yes as a percentage?
Well, I honestly did take that poll, and I did say yes to it. I have been, unfortunately, seeing a lot of it happening in the fandom. Mm-hmm. In fact, within the past 48 hours, I have seen several people one person from the Time team was attacked for having an opinion because she ended up going to the BFI over the weekend, and but with booing when the new figurine was actually shown. And then my narrator, actually, who did my narrator for my audiobook for The Writer Wants, he actually left Twitter this morning because he's over it. Okay.
Mackenzie, and I'm up against a hard break, so I'm just going to get the percentages from everybody. How many of those 856 people think you said yes?
I'm going to go 85.
85. Neisha, the percentage of those people said yes, there's bullying?
Possibly 45%.
45. Simon, how many percentage do you think said yes, there's bullying?
I'm going to go for 70.
70. And Dr. Freedom, how many percentage do you think bully out there?
I was thinking around 80%.
80%. Okay, well, I'm going to give you that percentage, folks, but you're going to have to stay tuned and come back because we got some bills to pay. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about more bullying in the Whoniverse and how we can get out of it when we return.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
Channeling the Mothership is an exciting journey into the higher mysteries. Certified psychic medium and clairvoyant Jerry McDaniel's readings, writings, and messages have been received by thousands of people in more than 45 countries. These messages have been obtained by channeling his higher self. How does he do it? Is it a blessing or a curse? And what lay beyond the reach of your five senses? Channeling the Mothership. Explore the mysteries of the spiritual and the metaphysical. Channeling the Mothership by author Jerry McDaniel. Available on Amazon.com today.
Hello, sweeties. I'm Crystal Moore. I play the Doctor in fan series Doctor Who Velocity. You're listening to The Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show.
It's Germany, 1938. Charlotte is a 15-year-old girl living in the Jewish quarter. George lives in the city proper and enamored by Charlotte's charm and grace when she wanders into his cobbler shop. George decides right then and there that he is going to marry her. Follow along as this unlikely couple struggles to stay one step ahead of the Gestapo and their dramatic escape from Nazi Germany. Good things always happen in springtime, from author Joanne Fisher on Amazon.com today.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show here on Krypton Radio, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and anywhere you're listening to us in the Hooniverse. I want to welcome back Mackenzie, Simon, Neisha, and Dr. Freedom himself. So now you wanted and waited to answer that question. Everybody's put in their numbers. So here is the actual numbers. Out of the 856 people who responded, if there is bullying in the Hooniverse, 82%, 701 people have all expressed that there is bullying in the Hooniverse, as opposed to 18. About 155 people said no. Mackenzie, that scares the hell out of me. That's a lot of people who believe that there is bullying out there, and I think they're more or less referring to more of the online bullying. But you started to mention about your friend. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened and what was going on out there?
Yeah, it was Beth from the Time Team. She had gone to this weekend while we were all in Gallifrey 1 at Galley. She went to a BFI where they actually showed had to do something with Legos, and they showed a figurine of the 13th Doctor. And everybody in the audience, from what she could see or observe, booed. And she was quite upset about that. So she had tweeted something on Twitter, and of course, as it's been happening multiple times with her, unfortunately, people jumped right on her and started bullying her because she's for a 13th Doctor female. And it's like, okay, we've had this Doctor, we've had Jodie for over a year. People, please, it's not going to change. She is the Doctor, whether you like it or not. And the
Thanks,
Doctor
Colin.
says be kind. And so, be kind. Why are we forgetting that? Instead of us becoming one family and growing, we're instead ending up tearing each other down. It's just sad.
Sadly, we had a similar incident happen over the weekend at the Legopolis screening, apparently, from what I've heard. Apparently, an audience member won a prize as part of a competition. It was the Series 11 box set, and apparently when it was presented, a number of people decided to start, booing, even though you had two of the writers from Series 11 sitting right there in the audience. And it was just amazed the living crap out of me, how distasteful, disrespectful this was. It just knocked me for a loop.
I'm just basically the person that says, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. But unfortunately, in our social media, everybody has an opinion, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing if you have an opinion. But when people want to start ripping you for having an opinion and going after you personally instead of the content of your opinion, that's where I think just things scare me, and that's where I get to lose a sense of Whovian. And I want to explore with you, Dr. Freedom. You've had some things happen to you on your show, haven't you?
Oh, heck. It's like the story of my life. Even back when I first started, I've had people, heckling, trolling, calling me names, calling me this, calling me that. And it's just, you got to grow a thick skin and ignore it. Otherwise, you're not going to last for a day on YouTube, it seems, these days. Like, I've had instances where I put up a video and literally within, the first 15 minutes, it's got, 50 dislikes on it. And I'm like, you didn't even have time to watch the video. It's like, come on, give me a break. But it just weirds me out because all I'm doing is going on and reading the news, and yet for some reason people have a problem with that. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just their, maybe their mind's whacked out in some way. I don't know, but it's just been going on with me ever since the first time I even started broadcasting, and that's been going on about 8 years now, I think. So I'm no stranger to it at all.
I'm just curious about the origins of all this. And Neisha, I'm going to read you some comments about people who voted. Some of them are my personal close friends, and one of which, Michelle Nephew, she says, "Oh, heck yes," when asking about if there's bullying in the Hooniverse. Oh, heck yes. If you haven't seen every single episode since 1963, you're not a real fan. Despite the fact that 97 of the 253 episodes from the programming's first 6 years are currently missing, primarily through season 3 through 5, leaving 26 series incomplete. Or if you enjoy the female Doctor, then yeah, you're not a true fan. Again, despite the fact the Doctor can be reborn at any species. And another of my friends, Ginger Crawford, said, "I've left most fan pages and groups because of it. I've noticed straight away as a fan of the 10th Doctor, even though I'm an older woman, I was bashed as a young girl who thought with her ovaries." So, Neisha, you're an expert in this field. Where did all this hate come from? And this has, unless somebody correct me if I'm wrong, this has pretty much happened in the last 10 years. And I do kind of blame, I don't want to say blame, that's a bad term, but I do think it was brought on by the current technology, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, all the social medias that we have over here, because people have an easier access of giving opinions. Whereas years ago, when we didn't have all this, we had no way of talking to each other. We had to go to conventions, we had to meet up, we had to go on the phone. We had our Commodore 64. But Neisha, where did this come from? Or is this something maybe we've had all along?
I'm going to say that it's been there all along. And the thing is you're very correct. We have a social media and rapid internet access gives us what's called instant gratification. A lot of times we live in a very strong generation now that allows people feel very empowered to be verbose, to express whatever they feel in this moment as rapidly as it's thought. So the problem with social media is once you've put it out there, it stays out there. There's no bringing it back. And there was a level of etiquette that we learned when we were much younger, because we were taught that in school, or we were taught it by our families, that there's no policing of that etiquette at this point. So when you're on social media, it's you and that social media site. It's you, your thoughts, and the rapidity of your thoughts, you just regurgitate it out there. And I think that bullying, the thoughts and the concepts were probably there for the entirety of the span of the show, because there were letter writing campaigns, right, back in the day, and you know that. So now we just have, unfortunately or fortunately, this accessibility gives people the opportunity to express their fear, their jealousies, their angers, their trepidations, and then to take it out on people who they don't understand, or they have no ability to understand them, because there's no social connection there. All there is this, this social media site. So, and there's also a lack of, there's a lack of accountability. People think that that we're not going to be in trouble for what we put out there, but that's actually not the case anymore. That's why we do shows like this, Christian, and thank you for doing it. So.
Well, Simon, you've been out there at the convention circuits. You've seen your share of everything that goes on there. Was there ever a sign in the convention world where you've seen something that you didn't appreciate that was pushed by bullying?
When I first came on board, which is 10 years ago, 9 years. It'll be 9 years.
It's been a while.
9 years in November. First of all, I didn't sort of see it or witness it, but maybe my radar hadn't been tuned in properly. All I noticed was that the fans were lovely and adorable. There were one or two scary people, but you get that in every industry, so it's not just the fandom. Otherwise, I had a wonderful time. I was always greeted well. When people sent me messages on Facebook, it was always lovely. And I would say for me, where I noticed things had turned was around 2015, which is about 4 years ago now. So if anyone can tell me what happened in 2015, because I have no idea. But then, not only have I witnessed it, but I've been personally attacked and had a very nasty case of trolling over something which I had nothing to do with, but there was an assumption that I was involved with something else, and it caused me lots of problems, and even to the extent I was no longer welcome at certain events, and I had no control over it. What upset me was that, I'm just going to say it, the lies that were stated were believed by people who I knew. And that really, really hurt. And it took a long time to get over. So that's my personal experience of being bullied. As for bullying amongst fans, I must admit I have heard about things. Oh, so-and-so said this and so-and-so said this. Oh, no, you don't want to get involved, blah, blah, blah. There are others who have said I am being bullied and they've explained why. And they've asked me if I could make a suggestion of how they deal with it. So that's how I become aware of it. And I don't know where it comes from. But I can say it can be terrifying because there's no control. And it took me personally way back to my school days. And so things that are the baggage that I had managed to sort of pack away over the last 40 or 50 years suddenly been brought to the fore because of these experiences. It started all over again. Well, why it started, I don't know. So if there's anyone out there who can say what on earth was going on, and it wasn't just the fans, but it was organisers of events as well. But the only thing I can say is don't be afraid to talk about it with others. Because I started talking about it with other celebrities, it was only then that some of them said, oh, actually, I had a similar experience. And then they started making a note of who were the difficult event organisers and for what reason, and which event organisers were troublemakers, so we should steer clear ourselves. But that was quite extraordinary, because when these things happen, you think they're bullying you, and you're the only one. But now, and this is excellent to hear this, excellent in the sense you're not the only one being bullied. So the big message is to send out to everybody, you're not the only ones being bullied. So be comforted by the fact that you are one of many that are having similar experiences, and that in turn should help you.
And I think anybody, and I'll express this at the end of the show, that nobody should feel bullied. Nobody should be pressured or feel bad, not only in the sense of having an opinion, but just of who they are. And I think that's very important, and especially in our fandom. Any fandom, Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, all of them, they should be able to express whether that's positive or negative. But
can I just add something, just to be devil's advocate?
Simon, yeah, we got a hard break, but yes, if you can hold that over to the other side, please. I want to hear this. Yes. Okay. When we return, folks, to Legend of the Traveling Tardis, we got a big subject on bullying. Stay tuned.
The Right of Wands. One boy, one right. And a world of deadly secrets that could change the course of history forever. It's time for The Right of Wands by Mackenzie Flohr. When a horrible fate reveals itself during the Right of Wands ceremony, Myrda must find a way to change his destiny. Forbidden from revealing the future, he is granted a wand and magical powers in order to save himself and those he loves. But Myrda is not the only one with secrets. The Right of Wands by Mackenzie Flohr, available on Amazon.com now.
Every year, tens of millions of people flock to Florida for its sunny beaches and world-famous tourist attractions. Most never learn about the strange and unusual locations just off the beaten path. From the UFOs of Gulf Breeze to Robert the Haunted Doll in Key West, learn about the myths, monsters, and legends from the dark side of the Sunshine State with author Mark Muncy and illustrator Carrie Schultz in their books Eerie Florida and Freaky Florida from the History Press. Find them at eerieflorida.com or wherever books are sold.
Now on Amazon.com. War Calls, Love Cries, a Civil War novel by Mark Berry. Isaac Wells is an innocent farm boy living in upstate New York. His dreams are shattered by a treacherous brother and the onset of a devastating civil war. War Calls and Love Cries is a fast-moving historical narrative. It is an emotional roller coaster ride and a riveting must-read book that you will think about and talk about for a long time to come. War Calls, Love Cries is the kind of book you will cherish for a lifetime. On Amazon.com today.
From some of today's best-selling, award-winning authors comes 22 page-turning tales, Cursed Lands.
Cursed Lands will lead you through one doomed world after another in a haunting dystopian urban fantasy.
Join the courageous as they battle for survival across worlds where fae, vampires, angels, witches, and more roam freely.
Cursed Lands is coming soon on Apple Books, Kobo, and Nook.
Pre-order your copy for just 99 cents today.
And welcome back to the Hanging with Web radio show. My name is G.W. Pomacher. I just wanted Dina's reaction to that. I wanted to see the girl's reaction. And Garrett's out of the room, so I'm actually happy that. No, folks, welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show. My name is Christian Basel. We're talking about a very serious subject in the Hooniverse about bullying. I'm joined with Mackenzie, Simon, Neisha, and Dr. Freedom himself, Brian Burgess. Simon, you said you wanted to add. I'm sorry to keep you on hold, and I'm hoping that you haven't lost track. Lost steam of what you wanted to say there, but please do.
Yes, there is the danger. On the other side of the coin, there is a danger of people feeling they're being bullied when in fact they're not. The number of people who come to me and complain because somebody said something nasty about their shoes, right?
Okay.
Right, and then when I got to speak to people on the other side, it wasn't that they were being nasty by the shoes. All they were saying was, see, she wasn't wearing the appropriate shoes for where they were. All they were saying was that she needed more walking boot type shoes rather than plimsoll, because the event was out in the country, and so it meant going across fields which were wet and boggy. And that's all it was. And yet this poor girl was sort of stating that she was being bullied. And so if that is then typed up on somewhere, I was being bullied, that comes across much worse than the actual situation.
Right.
So we have to be careful there as well, not to go, so-and-so is bullying me. It's very easy to attack a bully that we've been told is a bully. Well, but first of all, you've got to try and establish the full facts before you start sending in the cavalry. That's all.
No, you mentioned the shoe thing, and I had a flashback back to the Stones of Blood at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where the doctor's harassing Romana about her heels and the hyphen parade are going on.
I mean, I know I'm putting light on a very serious subject, but it is, as someone who's often been accused of doing things, some of which I wasn't even in the airspace, and I could prove that I wasn't even in the country when I'm supposed to have done something. The people who support those who are accusing me just won't accept it. I even had a follow-up said, oh, well, it must have been a different date then.
Okay.
And that in turn is a form of bullying. Because what they'll do is they'll try and twist the facts to fit. So that so they've chosen you. They want to accuse you of, hello, pussycat. They've accused you of...
I love the cameras now.
Yeah, you're accused of doing something, and the accusers, once they've being found out that they're just lying, will then try and twist things to say, oh, for example, that is the, it must be in the wrong date. Going back, for those of you who've read my first book, My Dalek is a Puncture, I talk about my sister. My sister had been accused of shoplifting in a local supermarket, and there was CCTV, and in fact the whole community saw her, right? But what they didn't realise is that my sister had died the month before. So when I was asked to go and get my sister, I just took them to the living room and showed them her urn. See, so that's that sort of thing. You could laugh at it now, but at the time I was damned angry, because everybody just wouldn't believe that my sister didn't do the shoplifting. And yet she'd been dead a month. Oh. So, but there you go. Yeah. Moving on. Well, I mustn't take up all the time.
I think this topic is going to take 3 hours. We should have like 3 episodes. And by the way, we were talking about cats, and we're doing the first time on visual, and Mackenzie had her cat come up and jump on the screen. That's why we're laughing. And so we got another talker on there. Dr. Freedom, you have been the victim of people going out and harassing you and such like that. How do you handle? And what would you be prescription for people who are being bullied in the way? How do you handle bullies?
The best medicine I found is laughter. You have to be able to laugh at yourself more than anything. Mm-hmm. You can't take yourself too seriously. But also one of the wisest set of words that I also lived by was by, believe it or not, Tyrion Lannister, Game of Thrones, when he tells Jon Snow, be proud of what you are, wear it like armor, and that way no one can hurt you.
Right.
And that right there is what's mainly gotten me through a lot of crazy situations online. It really has.
Mackenzie, if I posted something on the internet, let's just say I posted, and here are 2 different posts, how would you react to them? One post says, I really think the Doctor should be a man. I'm not going to watch the series anymore. I am done with this. And another post comes right behind it, says, I love Jodie. She's wonderful. This should be exciting. How would you relate to those 2 posts? How would you go through them?
Well,
or would you?
Well, to be honest, I actually did have people on my Facebook when Jodie was announced saying, oh, I'm not going to watch the show anymore. The Doctor is a male. Always should be a male. And that's it. I'm not going to watch the show. And I'm just kind of sitting there like, okay, so we're having a gender change. Woo! I was like, I could understand about having issues with the Doctor changing gender. I can admit, first when Jodie came out, I honestly wanted Olivia Colman to be the Doctor. But when I saw Jodie, I'm like, oh, this is going to be neat. This is going to be cool. And then some people were like, no. You can't have a woman Doctor. And you still see it even on the various Twitter or even on social media. Mm-hmm. There's even one that says, not my Doctor hashtag. It's like, what the heck? You can have a strong opinion.
But you just if people have opinions like that, I would just skip them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even engage them because let's just say to me that if you engage the person, that's what a bully wants. That they want that engagement. That's what gives them the power, because if they have attention, then they're going to reciprocate it back to you, and that's where they get the power. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Neisha, but I think a bully needs attention for them to function. If that attention's gone away, nobody's listening. They don't have power. Am I right on that, Neisha? Or
so, I want to just bring something to light, and you're right. Yes, but let me. So I want to address backwards to where Simon asked about the 5+ years ago, why did everything happen? So here's the thing. When we have a social connection, one-to-one, face-to-face, there's the ability to look at the face, there's the ability to interact, there's an exchange that happens.
Yeah.
Some people see something, hear something, listen to it, interpret it, assimilate it, and then process it in a black and white formation. It is this or this. Other people can see it in 360 degrees. When those 2 people have a conversation, if they don't have a facial recognition, if they don't have an exchange, a personal exchange, you have someone on one side saying, this is my answer to this question. This is how I feel about it. This is the way it is. You can only have a doctor who's a male doctor, and that's it. And then all of the thoughts behind that process only sit there. The other person is very happy to take their thoughts and then happily give the entire soliloquy, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes when you have the two sides of that, you have the person who's speaking more verbosely, and it will oftentimes appear as if they're bullying the other person for their thought process or for what the opinion that they're expressing. In the last 5 to 7 to 10 years, we don't have the social connections that we like when you're at a convention. I mean, obviously bullying happens there as well. Don't get me wrong. But on the internet, we don't have that exchange, right? We don't have the ability to have a human exchange and a human connection. So it's only as good as what that person's response is. Does that make sense? So
yeah, because you don't have that social interaction. Because if you have the person in front of you, they're hearing everything, they're seeing everything, they can actually take action. Whereas in the internet, you're just a bunch of words.
You're a bunch of words. And it's very hard to do anything but to interpret those words in the way you interpret them. Right. So all 5 of us will read them and interpret them completely differently, albeit it's very likely that the 5 of us will probably see the same point of view, you know? So but for someone else, it won't be like that. And they're going to interpret bullying. And a lot of times, the way that they write it is actually in a bullying format because they are oppressing or suppressing the other person's opinion. Mm-hmm. Does that kind of go along with that thought process? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, because for instance, there was that post I was talking to you about that you have on the page, mm-hmm. and the response to that particular post, which I actually don't like that article. I don't like the way that it's written, nor do I. And I am speaking about the Matt Smith one. Okay. Nor do I agree with the author in that sense. But I step back and I'm like, okay, maybe it's an interpretation factor. However, you had people responding to that post saying, well, if you don't agree with what Matt's saying, then you need to be hit over the head. You can't. Is that an appropriate way for someone to answer?
No, nobody should be answering with any violence at all. I mean, even if you have a disagreement, you should be able to agree and disagree. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Exactly. No, you got it. No, that's exactly the point. The thing, but in that person's head, the person who's responding, they think that that's perfectly appropriate because they don't understand the literally this entire plethora of information that sits behind the decision of a community to not support, a cisgender actor being in that role, or to support them being in the role. But, there's a lot more to that. So that's a conversation for another day. What I'm saying is we don't know we have no ability, and we act and react too quickly. And in the reaction, oftentimes what we put down, those words will become hurtful and almost hateful because we don't realize how someone else is processing them. We have no concept how that's touching someone. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And we're on a hard break, but I just want to reiterate for people who may not understand. I think, and I didn't read the article in full, I apologize, but I think it was Matt Smith was playing a gay character, and there was a question about Matt Smith playing a gay character as he is a straight man. Can you do that? And
of course you can.
Yeah, I just like, I don't care. Can you pull it off is the question. I mean, if you can do it and stay true to the character and the writing, I don't care what you do in the bedroom. I care what you do on the screen.
No, it wasn't about him playing the character. It was about the statement he made that's right. A little later. But we'll talk. That's, again, a conversation for another day. Again, it's about interpretation.
I think we've got like 10 episodes waiting for this, just one episode that we're talking about. But speaking of episodes, folks, we're on a hard break. We're going to be right back. Stay tuned with the Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show and continue to become part of the legend.
Murder by the Gods from author William G. Collins is available today. Murder by the Gods is a mystery thriller set in the glorious past of ancient Egypt, when the son of the Scorpion King suddenly collapses after receiving a mysterious threat from the god Seth. The prince is convinced it is the gods who are trying to kill his family. Murder by the Gods is filled with adventure and romance in a kingdom that would become known as the Land of the Pharaohs. Murder by the Gods from author William G. Collins is available on Amazon.com today.
This is Cosplay Michael with the Hangin on Flop Show. I want to tell you about my friends at Embellish Effects in Orlando, Florida. They've got makeup, costumes, and props for all of your costume needs. And the team at Embellish Effects is helpful and friendly. Embellish Effects is one of my favorite places, and I know it will be yours too. I'll see you there. Or go to embellisheffects.com. And remember, cosplay is for everyone.
Best-selling and award-winning author of true crime and crime fiction, Yvonne Mason is back with a brand new book, The Pink Canary, a book that delves into the life of a drag queen and a marvelous whodunit. You can find this and all of Yvonne's other works on Amazon.com, or find Yvonne Mason on Facebook and Twitter.
He's gonna kill me.
Buy your copy of Pink Canary now.
Devarius has lost everything. His parents murdered, his sister kidnapped, and the new village he called home destroyed. The Dragonia Empire is out of control, destroying anything and everything in their path, searching for the Resistance. Devarius is left with no choice but to find the Resistance, join them, and hope he can help them defeat the Dragonia Empire once and for all to bring peace to the land of Keldroga. Dragonia, Rise of the Wyverns, Dragonia Empire Volume 1.
And welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show. Thank you for continuing to listen to us. We're our very special topic on bullying in the Whoniverse. I'm joined by my friends Mackenzie, Neisha, Simon, and Dr. Freedom himself, Brian. And I don't care who you are. Every time I hear the commercial, I want to thank Embellish FX for sponsoring us, because I get to hear Cosplay Michael do the commercial. I don't care who you are. If you're listening to that commercial, you've got to smile from ear to ear every time he does it. And I just go, yee, it's Cosplay Michael there. So thank you again, Embellish FX, for sponsoring our show, and everybody who sponsors us. Thank you. We can't do the show without you. We can't do it without the audience, and we can't do it without our wonderful guests that you're listening to right now on our panel. I wanted to bring a story up that it's been a while. And I just want everybody's take on this. I did a convention I think it was Miami at the time. It was either the Fort Lauderdale, Miami. It was SuperCon. And 2 years ago, it was the mention of a female doctor, and Jodie was still going to ascend to be into the role, and everybody's take on it. Everybody in the audience was very giddy and happy and excited, except for two women that were sitting in the back. And they had said nothing throughout the whole con. They had said nothing throughout the whole panel. We had to talk about it. We had some issues. We had a lively and wonderful discussion about Jodie and a female taking on the role and what the expectations were. I mean, it was just beautiful, except for these two women. And as soon as the panel ended, they walked up to me and they just said, Christian, and they looked disappointed. And I was like, yeah. And they said to me, we didn't want to say anything because we're not happy that Jodie's taking the role. And I go, well, why didn't you say anything? He goes, there's only two of us, and there's like 60 people in this room, and there's only two of us, and we didn't want to be the ones to say we didn't like we don't want Jodie in the role. We just aren't happy with it. And I felt really bad about this scenario. It's just like they don't even get a chance to talk. Not because they don't probably have a very valid reason for Jodie not being in the role. They can't even talk about their opinion because they fear that the other 58 people in the room are going to take them to task. And I was hoping we don't live in a society like that. I was hoping, maybe I don't even agree with them, but I wanted to hear them out. And I had to wait until the end of the panel for these two wonderful women to come up here. Very brave souls, I think, because they had a different opinion than the other 58 people in the room. And we had a talk. We had a discussion. And after anything, I said, listen, you know what? I have my misgivings too. It's anything with a new doctor, and especially that they're going to change the gender. But I'm going to do something that I do with every doctor that starts out. I'm going to watch. I'm going to give it a chance. And that's all I can ask of the two of you. And I'm not going to berate you. Tell me what you... And then they told me their concerns about things. And I just said, listen, I want you to not feel, whenever the next time I'm here next year, I want you to give her at least a chance. I don't want you to feel like you can't say anything or you don't have anything. You know, I don't want you to feel... And I will protect you. If these other 59 people jump up, I'm going to stop them. That's what my role is as a moderator. It's like, listen, I control the panel, and if you two have something to say, I want you to say it. But and if you simply just don't like her, or don't simply like the idea of a female in the role, I want to talk about it. And I think that's where we've lost. I think that's where we've lost it in society, that we just can't have a different opinion. We can't just say what we want in our mind. So though, if I didn't give them the chance to express themselves at the end of the panel, they would have walked away. They would have never watched the show, and they probably wouldn't even come back to SuperCon. And I'm happy to say, because I spent the time with those two, they came back next year, and I did a little poll of the audience. They moved from they're not going to watch it to they're going to give it a try. They were going to give Trody a try. And that's all I can ask of you. And even if you don't like her, you took the time and the chance. And you can still walk away. At least you can say to me, Christian, we gave her a shot. You still don't like her. And nobody in that room, not the 58 other people, should have any say to what you believe in. And they should appreciate, not because you have a different opinion, but because you're a Whovian just like those other 58 people. And you should feel comfortable about what you want to discuss. It may be something that I don't agree with. It may be something that I don't condone. But if you're willing to talk to me, I'm willing to talk to you. I'm willing to work it out. And I'm happy to say, at least from the last time that those girls came back, they said, Christian, we're going to give her a shot. And I'm hoping they're watching. And if not, I'll see you in 3 to 4 years when she changes out into somebody else. And I think that's what it is to be not only just a Whovian, but a good person. Just to be able to have that discussion. I think we've lost the art in that. I mean, where did the hate come from? And it's on both sides. It's meaning that if you like her, you're going to get ripped. If you don't like her, you're going to get ripped. And that's not fair. I want to talk to you about it because this is my program. This is my thing. This is something that I geek out with all my friends. And I don't mind talking about this. This is my passion. I got a whole radio show about this because I think this is one of the greatest television shows in the world. And if we're going to continue on the next 50 some odd years, there might be changes that we're going to feel uncomfortable with. Paraphrasing Stephen Moffat. And that's where I think people should be open and honest with each other, but still to the point of being respectful to each other. And I know I'm just talking long-winded, but if anybody wants to jump in and talk about what I just said.
I think what you've just said is a very valid point, and good on you for giving them the opportunity to actually put their viewpoint to somebody else. But I also just want to throw in the mix here. We're talking about, ultimately, I know somebody's going to probably troll me now, joke, right? But we were talking about a television program. It's art, and everybody doesn't have to like the same thing, yes. or they might like something for a very different reason why you like it. So I do question anyone who says, oh, I'm not going to even look at that picture because they know they won't like it. Well, how will they know they won't like it unless they go and look at it?
Yes.
You know? And people look at the menu in a restaurant and they'll say, oh, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that. And you say, well, have you had it before? No. And you think, and I always say, well, how do you know you don't like it? So ultimately, it's a television program, and I think it's very sad that some people get very upset and violent because somebody else thinks differently about a piece of art.
But I think Mackenzie. Oh, I'm sorry. Go.
No, that's all I'm going to say there.
But Mackenzie, I think the most important thing is that even though they might be the Scrooge of the ideology of continuing on. I think it takes a lot for a person. It takes a lot more for a person and the courage for somebody to outreach and say, listen, I'm going to come down to your level, instead of rising above their level and berating them and ripping them apart. Why would they want to watch my favorite show when I'm treating them like that? What else are they going to do? They're going to move on and watch another show. I think it's more important that you lower yourself to their level, talk to them, and have that communication. And if you tried, the thing is, you've tried. You've gone to their level, and I think that's important. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely, I would agree with that. In fact, that reminds me of a panel that I actually did at Gallifrey One, where it had to do with how the Doctor helps to bring us together. I mean, you can look at towards the Vincent and the Doctor episode, whereas, there's a whole group of good things and a whole group of bad things, but doesn't make that one thing is worse than the other, is paraphrasing what the Doctor says during Matt Smith's era. And I think that's a really good point, because there are a lot of people out there. My particular panel had to do with mental illness and how we talked about people who have depression, PTSD, ADHD, ADHD, that a lot of them feel alone out there, and they're not. And that's how it pulls the Doctor in, seeing how realistically it is. And that it is all true. Is, if we tear each other down, why would I want to get involved in something that you get torn down with? And it's really just give it a try. I can say for myself as an author, I've had multiple times where a reader has told me, I absolutely hate fantasy, and I hate YA fantasy. And for some reason, they picked up my book. They go, you know what? I absolutely hate this genre, but I love your book. Where's the next one? So it's neat hearing that.
Well, we've got a few more minutes left, and Dr. Freedom, I did want to ask you, I just want to say this real fast, and then I have a final question for Neisha. Dr. Burgess, I've been told you and I are doing the medias that we do, and a good friend of mine named Patty Hawkins said this: once you've got haters, you're on top. You've made it. That's the thing that he's told me quite a few often, that, once you start getting the haters in, don't look at it as a bad thing. Look at it as a good thing, because now you've made it. You've made it to the big leagues.
I think Winston Churchill said it back sort of best when he said, "Oh, it's you have enemies. That's good. That means that you've stood up for something in your life." To paraphrase it loosely.
Yeah.
So that's the way I try to look at it.
Yeah.
Neisha, we got a minute left, but do you have any information for people who may be suffering or feeling like they're being bullied, and where they could turn to for help?
Oh, hello. Amy, one day, and I lost celebrity. I am a practicing psychiatry medical provider. That's what I do. And I work a lot with youth and at-risk youth. So I think we're in the same case there. I just very quickly, if you feel like you're having...
I think we're having technical issues with Neisha's side. Yeah.
And can you hear me?
It's breaking up over there, Neisha. I apologize. Can you hear us okay?
No, she's gone.
Gotcha. Oh, poor Neisha. Well, let me put it this way, and we're going to provide links and information on this episode if you need help, if you feel like you're being bullied and such. But I just want to say this as a final thing. For those of you who go to conventions and such like that, if you feel like you're being bullied, harassed, I'm going to put this out for you. Come find me. If you're at a convention that I'm at and you feel that there's something wrong, come find me. If not me, come find anybody who is, assisting in that convention, because you don't deserve to be bullied. You don't deserve to be... You paid to get in. And that's just his life in general. If you feel that you're being bullied, find somebody to confide in. And don't feel that you deserve the pressure. You don't deserve the pressure. You don't deserve to feel uncomfortable. You should be able to geek out and feel and display your art any way you want to. And I think that's what it means to be a Whovian. I think that means more than just watching the show. It's understanding and appreciating everything, everybody, loving. But that's just my take on it there. Anyway.
I know this is the end of the show. I'm sorry, guys. Can you hear me?
It's still breaking up, Neisha, but Yeah, we'll provide Neisha, if you can give us information that we can provide links for the episode, we appreciate it. We'll make sure that everybody gets the word out. I want to thank Mackenzie, Simon, Brian, and Neisha. I want to thank you all for joining us over here, and I want to thank you all for being part of the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS and always continuing to listen to the legend and becoming part of it.